next one I'm going to talk about is world peace, which I've already mentioned once. Another aspect of the last days is this notion of world peace. All the nations and peoples of the world coming together in unified peace. At least since before the end of the First World War, leaders and speakers alike have been calling for world peace to end all war and bring a lasting peace. Leaders were brought to first join the League of Nations and then the United Nations, all in the name of peace. Well, for starters, peace has not and shall not be realized by man. True peace comes after war. Even now, especially with the turmoil in the Middle East, leaders have been trying to get Israel and the Palestinians to come to terms of peace. They will not stop fighting until one side is dead, and that side will be the Palestinians. God is not going to allow anyone to destroy the Jewish people and their nation. Leaders since the violence began have tried to fix this Middle East problem of violence and war, and have been able to do so. All leaders are preaching and speaking of peace in that region and everywhere else. The beginning of the tribulation has started with a false peace on earth, like I mentioned. The white horseman, he comes and conquers by peace. The beginning of the tribulation started with the false peace on earth enacted by a 7-year treaty with Israel. Remember the verses I mentioned earlier in Daniel about the covenant with many for 1 week? That's what this is, the covenant. That's this peace treaty. Leaders also are moving towards a peace agreement between Jews and Palestinians, and Jews and Muslims. The Antichrist conquers by peace and flatteries, not by bullets and bombs. He will appear to bring the Middle East situation to peace, which is what many have tried to do but failed. The people of the world will believe that this is the great leader the world needs to fix all our problems, and he will become world ruler. The Jews will believe he is their prophesied Messiah, but we'll see the true Messiah, Jesus Christ, at the middle of the tribulation period. The unions of the nations and partnerships are all coming together in so-called unity and peace. The religions themselves want to come together and join and just proclaim that everybody worships the same God, but in different ways, which is heresy and utter wickedness from lost retards who want to compromise on anything. And like I've already mentioned earlier, world peace is only achieved by war. There will be peace when God's going to come and destroy all these wicked people that are not saved, that follow Antichrist at the Battle of Armageddon. If you read about the Battle of Armageddon, God's going to kill. I won't tell you. You can just think why don't you think of how many people are actually going to be at the Battle of Armageddon? How many people are going to actually be on earth that fight for the evil powers, that fight with Antichrist and the false prophet? How many people are going to actually be there that are fighting with him? There's going to be millions of them. It's not like it's going to be a small army. There's going to be a ton of people there. There's going to be millions there fighting. And God's going to destroy all of them with the spirit of his mouth, with the sword of his mouth, which, by the way, is the word of God. It seems like what all God's going to do is come down, see them coming, and he's just going to speak verses and it's going to kill them. It doesn't mention him using a sword, pulling out a gun, or anything. It just mentions him destroying them with the sword of his mouth. It's basically just maybe speaking the word of God, quoting verses to them, and they hate it so much it just kills them. The Bible talks about the blood being up to the horse's bridle. That's a lot of blood. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed right there with God, right there. When Jesus comes back at the Battle of Armageddon, at the end of the tribulation period, there's going to be a lot of blood being shed. Because that's the only way you're going to bring peace to this earth. It's not by the negotiations with world leaders. It's not by a so-called world peace where all the nations make an agreement and come together. It's not by all the religions coming together. It's not by the governments coming together. Man by themselves can't do it. Because man has sin in their life. Man is a sinful creature, a wicked creature that's depraved and sickening and perverted. And there's only one way to bring true peace, and that's to get saved. And the truth is, not all men are going to get saved. The whole world's not going to be saved when they get there. All of them, for the most part, all of them will be fully degenerate and perverts and wicked. And the only way there's going to bring true peace to the earth is God's going to have to just kill all of them and get rid of them. And that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to kill every one of them, throw the Antichrist and the false prophet in the lake of fire, and the rest of them are going to be killed and go to hell. And then after that's over, God's going to set up the millennial reign. There'll be true peace again. True peace. That will be the true peace right there. That will be a righteous world government with true peace, where God is in control, not some man. It's not man will be in control of that one. God will be in control of that one. So it will be a true peace. It will be true peace. and the world government, him ruling everything will be righteous. Will be a righteous leader. He won't be a wicked leader. He'll be a righteous leader. But you can see the world peace is being. All these are being promoted: world government, world religion, world economy, world peace. All these are being promoted right now, and people are moving towards it, talking about it, wanting to set up conferences. You see, like the G4 summit trying to promote the world economy. You see a lot of peace conferences all over the world trying to promote peace, and all these people and all these nations are signing these peace agreements with each other. And well, that's good. That's good. Show. That's good. I'm trying to think of the word, but it's good leadership and stuff. No, they're not going to have they're not going to have real peace with each other. All these are doing is it's all leading towards a world peace, a coming world peace, false world peace under the Antichrist. All of it's leading that way. The violence in the Middle East, which by the way is another piece of the puzzle leading to the coming of the Lord and leading to the tribulation period. The violence in the Middle East, which really got started at the fall of the Ottoman Empire, World War I, because right after that, a lot of those nations that are there now were founded after the fall of the Ottoman Empire. So that helped as well, because once the British got there and the Jews started coming there, it started bringing violence, and then because the British also run most of those countries, so it started bringing a lot of violence in there. They started wanting to fight, and especially when Israel became a nation, it really got the fighting going. It really got the fighting going when Israel actually was set up as a legitimate nation. It really got the fighting picking up throughout that area, throughout that time. And then also other nations during the Cold War trying to vie for influence and control down in those nations, and many other nations got it going and got that time going. And it just it really got the tensions going and got everybody wanting to fight. And even now they're still fighting down in the Middle East. Right now, this Arab Spring that's going on. This actually is not in the book, but this Arab Spring that's going on right now, with all these nations overthrowing each other. All these nations overthrowing each other, wanting to fight and everything. This could easily. This is just an opinion here, but this could easily be a part of that Ezekiel 38 battle. Remember, a lot of the nations that are involved in this. There's Russia is going to be the head of it, but there's a lot of nations involved that are Muslim nations that are in this, that are part of this Arab Spring. So this Arab Spring could be influencing the right type of people that will join up in this and say, let's attack Israel now. A lot of the nations already don't like Israel, but it's going to take a spark. It's going to take something that's going to get them to say, they go to the next level and say, I'm done just hating Israel. Let's attack them now. But you see how this is leading. This Ottoman Empire falling and allowing the Ottoman Empire falling and these nations being set up, and then Israel being set up, has got the hatred and the violence started between the Jews and the Muslims in the Middle East. And it's going to lead to the peace agreement with the Antichrist. It's going to lead to him becoming a leader. This is going to be more likely, by the way it looks, with the peace agreement. Him bringing peace, the peace between the Muslims and the Jews is going to be one of the things that's going to do it. That's one of the biggest hot spots in the world right now when it comes to the lack of any peace. And people talk about peace. That's one of the things. That's one of the places that people talk so much about bringing peace to. The Antichrist is going to be able to bring peace to that region. It would have never happened if the Ottoman Empire hadn't fallen and World War I had never taken place. Now, if that had never taken place, God could have done it a different way, but that's how God chose to do it. That's one of the ways. That's one of the things. It's another thing God used. World War I and II also set that up, where there would be a battle there, where the Jews would be set up as a nation. They would fight. The Muslims fight them. The Jews fight them, and it's just an ongoing battle between them and between everybody else, because the Muslims want to fight everybody. The Bible talks about them being that way. When you read about Ishmael, it says he would be a wild man, and he would be against. But I'm paraphrasing it, but it said that he would be a wild man, and he would be an enemy of everybody. The whole world would be his enemy, and he'd be everybody else's enemy, and pretty much his descendants would be fighting everybody else and fighting themselves, and just always fighting something. And that's the truth. That's the way Muslims are. They want to fight everybody, and that's just the way it is. So you can see how this Middle Eastern crisis is also leading towards Christ coming. Do that. Fall of the Ottoman Empire, World War I, got some of those nations that didn't exist before. They were created. The Jews started to pour into Israel, again wanting their nation back. They already had their nation declared for a Jewish state there. The violence started to pick up then. Then in 1948, when Israel became a nation, the violence really picked up. Then the Cold War superpowers, United States, Soviet Union, vied for influence in the Middle East, funded wars there. And now neither side really don't. Now the sides, most of them don't like the United States at all. Some of them are buddies with Russia now. And then and now that is helping lead towards the peace agreement with Antichrist and helping him get himself to power and bring about the coming world peace and world government. So you can see that in there. I didn't put that in the book, but that's really good. That's another aspect. Another one that I didn't put in here. All right, next one, communism. Communism helps bring us closer to the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, as did many things. There's a lot of things that have helped lead towards it, but this is another one. You may ask what communism has to do with anything. You say, what's communism have to do with bringing about Christ's coming? Well, if you look at communism is one of the most anti-God ideologies of our time, which goes into this day where people would be falling away from the truth and not enduring sound doctrine. And communism has something to do with that. Even though I know a lot of it has to do with just us being immoral and hating God, but communism helped endure that because communist ideology is everywhere. It has been spread all the way from its first starting and first real power grab and first real power gain in the Soviet Union all the way to many of the nations that it influenced. Communism is a man-made humanistic ideology which preaches a man-made utopia, a man-made perfect world. Communism is strictly atheistic in nature and doesn't allow any form of religion. When the Soviet Union formed up until the end of Stalin, thousands of churches throughout the Soviet Union were destroyed, and only a few hundred were left, and many of these were taken over by the state. The state had total authority and was God. The verse, "But my God shall supply all your need," became, "But the state shall supply all your need." Now, they didn't really take that verse and say that, but that's basically kind of what it was. The state pretty much took care of you. The state decided everything. It was in all aspects of your life. The Antichrist will force all to accept the famed mark of the beast in order to buy and sell. And the false prophet orders all the world to worship the beast in his image, and whosoever doesn't is killed. The beast is the empire, Antichrist. You can't really separate the empire and the emperor. Everything is a mess as well in the world. In the world after the Antichrist shows up. The four horsemen show us. The red horse, war. Black horse, famine. Depression. Pale horse, death by war, disease, famine, animals. The white horse, the beginning, conquered by peace. The Soviet Union was in a mess in its later years and eventually collapsed from war, famine, and death. You see that communism is a step towards the Antichrist empire. Everything in communism was strictly man-made. God had no part in their laws, minds, ideas, etc. All laws benefited the government and nobody else. The economy was purely controlled by the communists. Took land, food, living away from many. God's law doesn't apply in communism, only man's does. Another thing it also promoted was humanism. A man as a god, a man in control of everything, a man's view. It was basically like humanism was like a man's view of everything, a man's view in philosophy, a man's aspect in law, a man's view in religion, a man's view in the economy and peace and regulation. It took communism in a sense was a way of saying, this is man, we're going to set up our own perfect world and God's not involved in it. We're going to make it where everybody has the same, type stuff, We're going to set up a world where it's all peaceful, so it's supposed to be peaceful. And it's all going to be, everybody's all going to be together under the socialist utopia, the workers' utopia. There would be no more, it would be the economy would just be perfect, the perfect workers' world and everything like that. You can see how that pushes towards the Antichrist system, towards a world government. You can see where it's pushing towards that. And also, again, bringing about an anti-God. And the Bible talks about before the Antichrist would come, that there would be a falling away first, and people would not endure sound doctrine, but be turned into fables. That's happening right now. Communism helped push that. because communism was a strictly atheistic ideology. Communism preaches that there is no God, that God doesn't exist. It's a made up. It was made up, and that we don't have to worry about that. In fact, the truth is, true religion was the threat to communism, because with God around, and people having a strong belief in God, they saw Him as their leader and pledged their allegiance to Him. Communism is like that. They want everybody to place full allegiance and have full fear and control, and say, you don't follow God and obey Him and fear Him. You fear us. We're God. We are the ones that control you. God don't control you. We do. We're in control, not God. God don't even exist. We do. We're here. That's what it was. And it talks about falling away first from the truth. Basically talking about people falling away from the truth, falling away from church, not wanting anything to do with God anymore. You see that a lot of people today are atheists. There's a lot of atheists in the world. There's a lot of people that don't want to hear about God, that hate God. They don't want to hear about the Bible. They don't want nothing to do with it. A lot of the countries that were under Soviet control at one time, communist control now, a lot of them don't believe in God. They're atheistic completely. They don't believe in God at all. A lot of the former Soviet blocs countries don't believe in God. A lot of them are very atheistic now. A lot of them are very atheistic. Even today, even though they haven't been under the communist bloc for 20 years, they have a lot of that. They have a lot of that communist ideology still with them. It's basically, communism is a man-made perfect world, but it leaves God out of everything. That's going to lead towards a world government where, by the time the world government comes and Antichrist control, it's going to be a completely anti-God. There's not going to be God in it nowhere. God's not going to be in it nowhere. Christ is going to be hated and despised by pretty much the entire world, except for the few that hear the gospel. The Antichrist is going to be, the God is going to be Antichrist. The beast is going to be the God. Like in communism, the communists were the gods. They were in control. They were in complete control of everything. They told you where to go, what to do, where to work, how much you could have, what you couldn't have. And you lived in fear. If you ever misstep, got along with their ideology, they killed you. They either throw you in prison, throw you in a gulag, or they just kill you. The same thing in the Antichrist system. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to do the same thing in the Antichrist system. You either bow down to them or you die.